Hello! So I'm going to preface this video by saying that this is not my normal content, as in I don't normally make videos about this stuff, but since game development is kind of out of the question right now as my computer is down, this is a video that I'm making. And it's somewhat related to my channel, so whatever. Let's get right into it. Hello, so this video, if you read the title, is a Initial D Wangan Midnight comparison. So I'm going to talk about some of the most important things that I think, some of the most important things I think racing anime should have, and whichever anime has the best out of that topic, then it will receive a point. And whoever has the most points at the end of the video wins. Once again, don't take this personally. This is just meant to be fun. Initial D has some really memorable JDM machines. The 8.6 Red Suns RX-7. You could go on all day about all the amazing JDM cars inside of it. But Wangan Midnight in here, I think, has the upper hand. Since racing takes place on the highway, you are allowed to do a bit more than Japanese cars, as a lot more will fit on that than a small Japanese car. So in Wangan Midnight, you get Ferraris, German cars, Porsches, while still getting your fill of Japanese cars. So in this case, I think that Wangan Midnight actually gets a point here for best cars out of the two of them. Alright, so the next thing you're going to notice when watching a racing anime is, well, the animation, which is a very important thing. So if we weren't off of which the first Initial D versus the first Wangan Midnight, since there's only one Wangan Midnight, then it would be an easy win for Wangan Midnight. And I think that when a lot of people compare them, they're comparing first stage with the normal Wangan Midnight anime. And I don't really think that's fair, because if we look at any Initial D from around the 2007 era, it's right on par. So honestly, I think here it's a tie. There's no one really does it better than the other. I mean, you could say the faces in Initial D are slightly better, but since Wangan Midnight is going for the look of the original manga, I don't really think that's a fair comparison. So I think it's a tie here. Since I'm comparing racing animes, it'd be a shame if I didn't compare the racing. That's kind of a really important thing. So Wangan Midnight has some really awesome high-speed highway action. But let's be honest here, the only time it gets as eventful as an Initial D race is when a crash happens, but that doesn't happen often. Wangan Midnight is more story-oriented. So honestly, I think here, I don't think it's much of a question. Initial D definitely takes the point on racing. The really high-pace toge action is a bit more exciting, and I like it more. And there's certainly a lot of memorable things that come with that. The Arasaka jump, to name one of them. I don't think it's much of a question. I'm going to say it again. Initial D gets the point for this. So this part of the comparison, I think, is another one where I don't think it's much of a question here. I think Wangan Midnight definitely has a better story. And it's a more story-oriented thing. The underdog-style plot that Initial D had might have been cool at the time, but that's been so overdone that you kind of get sick of that. Wangan Midnight it feels more dynamic with the characters. For a racing anime, I think it's not. I think it's pretty obvious. Wangan Midnight is the winner of this round. So, these next few rounds are going to be side things, stuff that really isn't super important, but does affect it somehow. The next round is going to be the music. Alright, so, Wangan Midnight has some really awesome music. Yeah, especially for the games. It's really great, but I'd have to be lying if I said that Initial D didn't take the cake with Eurobeat. Let's be real here. Initial D definitely won this round. I do like the music from Wangan Midnight, but I like Eurobeat a whole lot more. So, Initial D is the winner of this rather short round. Okay, so this round is going to be Realism. While this isn't super important, I do think it matters somewhat, so I'm going to cover it. Alright, so I've heard a lot of people say that Wangan Midnight is not realistic at all, but if you look into 90s street racing enough, and you've gone deep enough down into the Japanese car culture rabbit hole, then you would know that it certainly did happen. Wangan Midnight was focused on the 90s, and in the 90s, I believe police cars in Japan were limited to a certain speed, 180 kilometers an hour, I believe so. So if you could go faster than that, then you were fine. And you could race on the highway. So if you ever heard of the Midnight Racing Team, that was a real thing. That's what all the cars in Wangan Midnight are loosely based off of. So if you think that Wangan Midnight isn't super realistic, I'd really recommend looking more into it, because it was a pretty interesting thing. But this is not meant to detract at all from the impressive detail in Initial D. And Initial D, Toge racing certainly happened. I don't think that's a question. And with the detail in the anime and in the manga and everything, I think it is really impressive. I think Initial D certainly won this round. I just can't ignore the impressive detail put into the anime, making sure it was close to life. With some parts being stretched out, of course, to put emphasis on something or whatever. But the stuff in it is almost 1-to-1 scale. It's really awesome. Initial D has won this round. So, Initial D has won the fight. But that doesn't mean that you can't like one over the other. My personal favorite is still Wangan Midnight, because I like more story in my anime. But yeah, it's all a matter of personal preference. If you think I missed something, which I probably did, this is my first time making this kind of video, then comment down below, and you could also comment down what your favorite is. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.